Mixtape we did, right? Lyrical Overdose, right? That was heavily hip-hop based, even the content. I just want to know, what was the transition from then to the consciousness in the music years later? What happened during that time period?
I just was speaking about this yesterday with my mom. It had to do with hearing yourself. So before that, 2005, it wasn't really like you had home studios and you could record yourself and hear yourself. So when I did that mixtape, it was the first time of me hearing myself back as an artist.
Back it you by hypnotic, claim you have big like she take attack up on me clock like second hand them pan a clock. She was your girl, but you know me it anyway, me understand you feel bad my youth, so you wanna get away.
And I remember listening to it and having to be in the car and listening to it if my mom's in the car, my aunt or something, and turning down certain parts and turning it up and turning it back down, and in my mind I was like, why am I making music that I have to turn down or feel some sort of way about if my family is around? So it kind of threw me off. I was like, even my mom was like, I guess, I'm good lyrically, but like I'm not really singing about anything. And that was the whole thing, but the craft was there and the timing and the metaphors and everything, but it wasn't saying anything. So when I got to listen back to that, I was like, this is not really for me. At the time I was trying to keep up with whatever's happening in dancehall, especially in hip hop. I gradually realized that I could be creative, but put content in there. And that was the transition. And then I took 3 years off after that mixtape. Not off, but 3 years in creative, to completely re-evaluate and come up with what I was really gonna be on in the long run.
So did that experience lead you to a personal journey, in a sense?
For sure, that's why I'm very proud of the work I did on that project, because without that I wouldn't have made the transition. And that's important, to hear yourself and analyze yourself when you hear it. So I heard it and be like, this is not gonna work for me. It's like, when you already know stuff, like, it's like I've always been socially aware, but I didn't have the tools to manifest it into like the proper lyrics. So like, even I started and I gradually was shifting from that. But then even when I came back and I had arguments and Dread, the first album, I wasn't really deep into the reading it. That's when I started to get more involved, and it was like reasonings with people, meeting like-minded people. I remember me and Jah9 started to link in 2009, and that was another pivotal point, because we would both like be talking about Garvey and Walter and all these things, and that's when the transition really started to take place. I would say it was right as I did my first album, coming out my first album.
What are some of the books that really open up your heavens?
The first book, the first book I think that changed everything for me was Groundings with My Brothers by Walter Rodney.
How were you introduced to Walter Rodney?
I'm 90% sure it was I Nation. Jah9 brought me to I Nation, and he had heard my music and he was like, this is what I need to give you to read. And I think he gave me Groundings with My Brothers, and he gave me a Marcus Garvey book that I lost again. And it's messed up because Garvey said never lent out your books, but I lent it out. But it's a white book with blue, but it's not written by Garvey, but it's written by one of his students, one of the last students he had in New York.
The working people are in the greatest financial and economic strait because the burden of oppression is constantly shifted down onto the shoulders of the working people.
All right, then why do you think Walter Rodney is not as famous as he should be amongst African people?
Well, I'd say the same reason, probably by Garvey isn't, I mean, Garvey is super famous, but I mean, like, even in America, they'll talk about Martin Luther King, they'll talk about Malcolm X, but there's no real, Garvey is kind of hidden from, you know, modern day people in America. Walter, the thing is that the social consciousness is usually tied to Jamaica. You know what I mean? Like, and Jamaica Rastafari is black consciousness in the Caribbean. Is stemmed through Rastafari. Walter has been widely. His information is kept out. I mean, the guy was banned from Jamaica. He was excommunicated from there. So I mean, I think because a lot of Jamaicans don't know about Walter Rodney, it doesn't come across in the global scheme.
Being in Jamaica, I notice a lot of people, especially a lot of Rastafarians, are not aware of Leonardtown. And why is that the case?
Because where are you gonna learn it? Where are they gonna learn it? They're not gonna talk about it in schools. I never heard the name Leonardtown. I never heard the name Walter Rodney. The only thing I heard know about Marcus Garvey was that he's a national hero on his birthday, but nothing of his philosophical views or his content. So this information is kept from the people. You know what I mean? So it's like if I didn't meet I Nation, if I didn't meet these people that are trying to push the consciousness, I would have never heard about Leonardtown.
So this is crucial times. Reggae music is to make you feel good, but it's also to talk about the social injustices that is going on in the world right now. So right now the world is being run by some very, very evil people. We know America has made her fortune off of the blood of slaves, indeed. Never forget that. We see the police killing black people in America every day of the day, they never go to jail, you understand? That's because it's blood money run the nation. I'm up like this right now. Alright then, when I watch no face, take no old morning. I don't drugs, money, they are very guarding. No individual society applauding. You can ask anybody when they get started. But no politician taking donation. So no criminal will never see a station. They never see a cell, not even a vote house. Well, every Sunday we see them making vote house. Not post resort and their dealership. The construction company and just only shit. The pussy washing money so the road and highway. When the people then come in, the government they like.
When you made that song, right? And I know you're not on camera, right? But did you ever say, yo, I'm going a little too hard on this one, yeah? Or did you just say, I'm just gonna put it out and really just deal with the consequences that
Yeah,
come?
for sure. I didn't even think about that. When the song was done, I just knew it was powerful, and I aimed to make powerful, thought-provoking music. I aim to make music that stirs up conversation, that rubs people the wrong way, that let people get upset, that let people get happy, to shake up stuff. And so I never thought about it like, oh, maybe people are gonna, like, I never ever think about that when I'm making music.
From a lyrical standpoint, the uniqueness in Blood Money, right, to me is that it speaks on universal matters, but it also speaks on direct matters in Jamaica. So you grab both audiences. It's not just like a Jamaican song, but it's not a worldly song. So you can grab both people, both audiences through it. You know, you speak about the X5, so people in Jamaica know that situation. You know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, that was I would say it's like a creative genius type vibe, you know?
Thank you so much, man. That was the whole point, to use Jamaica as a metaphor for what's happening globally. But do it in a Jamaican framework so that it works there first, but then internationally everybody can say, yo, this is the same thing happening in Nairobi, yo, same thing in Brooklyn, yo, same thing in London, and everybody can relate, yo, because it's a global thing. So that's the main thing, is that to make it worldly, but still make it unique to Jamaica. I think the greatest of that of all time was Bob Marley, who was able to do it on a global scale, but it be authentic to Jamaica, and that's what I really tried for in that song.
Really bad man now go station. Cause if you check the situation, our blood money run the nation. Come take a look in at Jamaica. Injustice in the place now. If what you see don't really face you, then you are the problem what we face too.
Thank you so much for watching I Never Knew TV.
Please subscribe, comment, like, share.